now it is time to recognize someone that created a great business. I've actually worked with this member. She's been a member for 5 years, I think, probably about 5 years. And when she joined GTeX, she was transitioning to working full-time on her business. She had contracts, and that was her goal. Like, I want to eliminate to just have my own clients and not be dependent from another companies giving me contracts. That was her first goal. And I got to say, it wasn't easy. It took a while. It didn't happen overnight, but she stuck with it. And going back to the story I shared before, the moments of hurt, the moments of pain, she kept going through those, and eventually things worked out. And we had an exchange of messages a few days, about a couple of weeks ago. And she said, how are things going? It's been a while. We haven't touched base in a while. How are things going? And she said, well, I had the best month that I've ever had in my business last July. And I asked her, so what happened? And then she shared it with me. And I said, would you mind actually sharing it also with all the other members? Because I think that when we put in perspective also a 5-year journey, I think we can see the bigger picture and how things can change. Where I think she had more than 17,000 pounds in one single month. So it has been an incredible joy, because no matter when she was literally at the beginning of this transition, and being able to celebrate with us this result is an incredible joy. So welcome to the GTeX Member of the Month, Jelena Radonjic. Jelena,
Thank
here we
you.
go.
Hi, Simone.
Give her a round of
Hi,
applause.
everyone. Thank you so much for the lovely intro. I really enjoyed your story.
We are here. So before we get started, actually, Jelena, introduce yourself and let everyone know who you are and what is your business and what you do.
Of course, yeah. I forgot about that, but that makes sense. This heat is not very helpful, and the only fan that I have here has been taken away by another family member. So, right, who am I? My background is in international recruitment and higher education management. By that, I mean dealing with business schools in the MBA and executive MBA space. And the recruitment bit was around the globe, starting my career in Japan, sourcing and selecting candidates for top global companies, first starting with kind of graduate and early career segment, and then moving progressively towards more senior people. So 6 years ago, I started my own business called What Work Career Coaching. I deliberately chose that because my work revolves around helping people figure out what it is they want to do, what it is that they really truly want out of their work life and life in general. So I work with mid-senior and senior professionals from quite a number of industries. So there's no specific niche, but I'd say majority of it, they come from financial services and banking, tech and media, IT and data services, and so forth. So I help them mostly with either career transition. The scenario, for example, I've been doing this for the last 20 years and I'm sick and tired and I want to do something else where I can see more impact and where I can contribute positively to the changes in the world. So, a lot more consciousness and awareness is coming through in what people want, which is music to my ears, because that's precisely what fires me up. And or career progression. So we have career transitions of all kinds, small, kind of lateral or radical. And then career progression is more about progressing, stepping up to the next role, which actually led me to dig a bit deeper into leadership development as well. So I ran my first masterclass series in June around that, because this leadership development comes as part and parcel of my coaching programs.
So that's perfect. Yeah, that's perfect. But now we all know what is that that you do and what is it your business does with what works. So what I want to ask you, and I'm going to ask Jelena a few questions. In the meanwhile, I want you all to start thinking about questions to write to Jelena, because in about 10 minutes, then I'm going to read and ask some of the questions that you are asking. And that's the most beautiful part of this session, where, of course, I can tell you, we can share our experiences and our training, but actually I think there is a lot of power also in learning from the other members that had an important breakthrough or an important success and move forward significantly in their business. So the question that I have for you is that, tell us a bit more about, I want to start with your best month. July was your best month. What made it your best month, and how did that happen? Let's start from that.
Okay, sure. So what made it the best month? Well, in terms of revenue, it was the highest ever revenue I made. Clients were signing up just like that. And that trend actually has continued for a while, but it never reached that level. One important thing that I want to share is this is a steady process. Hence, I wanted to tag on to your line about consistency in playing basketball or business. You know, people ask me, so when are you going to stop, in my case, learning, going to these retreats, personal development programs, you work with this guru and that and blah, and you invest in this education, like, haven't you had enough? And I look at them and think, like, are you crazy? I mean, there's no end to this. This is so it's never going to stop. But in terms of business development as well, it never stops. And the main message here is, when you think nothing is happening and you still can't see the results, and if you're tempted to either slow down or give up and whatever, no, that's when you need to press the accelerator, really. And so the results that showed in June and July are the result of efforts from since January. I mean, much longer, but sustained efforts since January, I would say.
So it has been the work that you started doing since January, and I would argue actually even before that, because I've seen like your journey in the past 5 years. So,
oh yeah, it's been very consistent. Yeah,
it has been incredibly consistent. And talking about consistency, there is one thing that you've been great at. While a lot of people in a period of 5 years will change what they do about 10 times. Oh, one day I'm doing this, and the other day I'm doing this, and the other day I'm doing this, and this is what I'm going to offer. This is what I'm going to specialize on. You've been very consistent in your niche. Can talk a bit more about that?
Yes, sure. Thank you. That's a great question. I think I'm lucky in many ways, in the sense that, or at least that is kind of made things easier. I was able to use my past professional background and build on it. So take all my portable skills and experiences and the kind of credibility and reputation that I built in it. I mean, it's nothing like out of this world, but, you know, there was a really solid experience and broad commercial acumen. So I had that with very specific skills and methodologies and knowledge when we look at the world of work and careers. And then I was able to marry that up with my passion, which is all about personal growth, personal development, but in the area of work and careers, which means, you know, ideally we want it to be more than just for paying the bills. So I think that merging of these two has given me this springboard. And that's also something that I often cite as my unique selling point, because a lot of life coaches can do career coaching, but they don't have the business, commercial, and career specialized knowledge and experience. There are also people who are career coaches who are from HR background or recruitment, but they're not qualified coaches and they haven't done the lot of, you know, deeper stuff, whereas I offer both. So I think that's my secret sauce there. In terms of consistency and why I haven't changed, I have tweaked, I have adapted, I experimented, like adding new things or, you know, taking away, slightly, I wouldn't say shifting my main key audience, but refining it. So that really helps. As I just mentioned, I added the element of leadership development because I realized I'm actually doing this as part of my programs, but I'm just not saying that, and I'm not giving, you know, any labels to it. So I would just say to all GTeX members, you know, it's a process. the key is to be patient, but not complacent. So be patient, but also persevere. And some things will just become clear in the course of time. That's
Yeah.
for me.
This is a really important one. It's a great lesson. Be patient, but not complacent. In particular, when we are talking about your niche, you tweaked, but still the umbrella was career development.
Yes.
And it's always been career development, whether you add the part. And there is power just in time and length of consistency, because it takes time for people to put you in a box in their mind. You know, we need to put, we make sense of the world by putting things in boxes in our mind. So if I can put you in this particular box, the moment I need you, I need someone, I can think about you. In that case, Jelena developed the people that you're working with, developed the skills and added it, but the umbrella was the same, career development, and that makes a big difference in the long term. I want to say now, I'm going to ask the last question to Jelena. So now it's time to write, because I'm going to ask him a question and then I'm going to read some question that you're going to write. Ideally, I want everyone to write a question, and then I will pick 3 or 4 of them. And the way I will pick questions is the ones that I believe that will be the most beneficial for everyone in terms of answers. And also, please don't ask questions about your business. I'm doing this, what would you recommend? That's our role. That's not Jelena's role. Okay. She doesn't have any context about your business, what you're doing. So it becomes very difficult for her to give you a piece of advice. So ask the question about her and their business, and then learn through those answers. So that's in terms of qualifying the right questions. If you ask a question, what should I do in my business? I will not read it. Like I'll let you know straight away. My last question is about, I want to jump back at the beginning. When let's say when you were midway through, because I know there were bumpy roads.
Yes. Oh yeah.
What was the biggest challenge that you have ever faced? Like the biggest one, the moment where you were almost ready to say, I'm done with this. And what did you do to move forward in that situation?
I don't think there was ever a moment where I thought I'm done with this. But there were
You're
times.
lucky then. You're lucky. I had many of those. Trust me.
Let me correct myself. There were times where I thought, it's really tough, and I'm putting so much bloody effort, and why is the result so scattered, or like good times, bad times, it's not predictable. And then there were months that were like last year in September, there was a no revenue month, which has never happened to me ever in the 6 years. And I was just like, this can't be true. What's going on? And but these things happen. So in those days, I'll be perfectly honest, I thought, okay, why don't I get a job and continue my coaching business? Or why don't I revisit some of those coaching contracts potentially, just so I make sure that I have, a couple grand coming in or whatever, and I'm just delivering sessions, even though these companies pay you peanuts, and continue to build my thing on the side. But somehow none of that happened. Okay. I did go for a couple of interviews. To be honest, whether I really wanted that, all of that, I mean, there was one opportunity I was excited about, but essentially, and that's also a key point I want to make, it's about mindset and what you truly believe about yourself. And essentially, I really want to continue working for myself, really, to be honest. As cushy as it may be to get a regular paycheck every month, I don't know if I could imagine having to, do the 9 to 5 or whatever and answer to someone. And so why is that important? If you have any of such thoughts or any kind of limiting thoughts, even when, you think about your business, that will hold you back, whether, even if you think you're managingly, outwardly, perfectly fine, these sort of energies are very subtle, and eventually they result in a no. What I did to revamp my business, well, I looked at, okay, what's happening, what's going on, what's not going on. I did take a longer holiday last year of about 3 weeks. So maybe the result of that. I did step up in August, but it wasn't, quick enough. Because remember, what you're doing in March or April, at least for me, is going to show up in September or August.
Yeah, please say it again. Please slow down and say it again. This is a really important one. This is a really important thing for everyone to understand.
So yeah, whatever you're doing right now, it's going to show up as good or bad or average or whatever in 3, 4, 5 months or 6 months, maybe in 2 months. It depends on the business, on the person. But for me, I've been able to identify this lag, because also you need to grow your audience. People need to move from the cold audience to warm audience. I run webinars. There's someone who wants to come on a webinar, but they missed it. Oh, damn it, And then they book a session, and then we have a session, but then they have personal issues, so they can't come on. So easily things take 3, 4 months to cultivate one prospect. So obviously you have to be doing this on a massive scale, a lot of the times regularly, and then things start to slot in. So what I did, yes, I reviewed, and I really stepped up, particularly towards the end of the year, last year. So December and January were really good months, like the record month for that time. And and things just started to unfold. I'll say just one more thing.
Yeah.
I figured out what actually is giving me the best results in terms of prospecting and generating leads and so on. And again, be patient, but be persistent. I've tried many different things, and it's also very important to review it. So now I do my review, and I completed it after a while. Where do my clients come from? Like, source of my clients, speaking gigs for third parties, webinars, referrals from my network and friends, LinkedIn automation and outreach. Maybe there's a couple more, I don't know. And then I have the number of people that came from each, that I spoke with, how many bought. So I have conversion rates. And I can't believe I'm saying this, because it took me an awful long time to start doing that. But if you can develop that discipline, and I'm not even very disciplined in doing it, then you can really see, okay, this is really working. So why am I putting so much time and energy and effort in doing this thing when actually it's not giving me clients? Maybe it's giving me glory or something. People think, oh wow, that's brilliant. But eventually, if there's no money in the bank, then
these are some great points. So there are two, and then I'm going to start reading questions.
Sure.
There are two things that I want to point out in this conversation. One is the mindset of, I'm going to make this work. It's time to step up. And we can't really expect an external result if we don't make this internal shift. Those internal shifts about, I want this and I'm going to get this, and it's time for me to step up, because anything we create in life, whether we like it or not, is our responsibility.
Absolutely.
Is the result of the choices that we made at some point. And it is a hard truth to swallow sometimes. Definitely for many times for me, it's been very hard to swallow. But at the same time, it also works in the opposite way. Like when I decide to make something work, we put something in motion and make things work. And then the other part is also reviewing, like being good with your numbers. When we are talking about, if you are going back to your road to business success and the training on the canvas that we are doing on the expert business canvas, there are how many calls have you made, like all the data that you need to have to get clients. And these are important, because then in that way we can measure where are we putting our effort, what works and what doesn't. And so there is another thing, like at the beginning it's good experimenting, because as Jelena mentioned, she did a lot of things. She tried different things.
For a while, yes.
For a while, and that's important.
Not forever.
It's an important part of the process, because without doing different things, you don't know which one is going to work or not. And then you arrive at a point where you have enough. It's like, okay, I've done enough now. Where are my clients coming from? Let's look at the data and let me do more of what works. So these are the points that I wanted to make. There's a question from Sam. How are you looking to scale up your business so you can consistently do 17,000 plus every month?
Oh wow!
It went straight there. So by the way, Sam is a brand new lifetime member. Just joined a couple of weeks ago. So is in. So how are you looking? Right, go ahead.
That's a crucial question, and you're reading my mind, because that's what I've been thinking about for the last 6 months, well, probably for a year, but really more so for the last 6 months. So I did run group coaching in the past, like 3 cohorts, very small groups. I absolutely loved it. I priced it very cheap, so I could, in my mind, so I can get it going. And I would like to ideally develop some sort of group program, maybe ongoing group program. To get that done, I would need to set some funds aside to build proper funnels, maybe run some ads and so forth, and up my prices further on my one-to-one coaching, keep it really exclusive, and run kind of one-to-many types of programs much more. And eventually maybe get a couple of other coaches or trainers to help me deliver. I mean, these are the models that I've seen other coaches successfully do. There is one lady who I spoke with recently, and I was like, wow, how did you do that? Because she's turning over like 250,000 at the moment. She also works within career and leadership space, specifically for women. And she just looked at me and she said, yeah, I've been at it for 13 years. And I'm like, oh, okay.
That's how you did it.
Important point, and she's a single mom, and she's like, with a small kid, and it's tough. But that is the thing about patience and consistency, and keep going. And, eventually things will happen, but you have to stick with it.
That's a great point. Thank you for answering this question, Jelena, because you get to a point, and I'm going to add another layer to give context, because we mentioned that in a conversation that we had on WhatsApp. What's really good, I think, like having like group programs or small offers is really attractive, because that's what we see a lot of people putting out there. But what gives you the money is the higher end one-to-one clients. And when I asked Jelena, like, what did you do over this past few months? Because let's say we haven't talked much for the past year or so. She's mentioned that she went back on going back and filled up her pipeline of one-to-one clients, because then it pays you well, build the cash flow, and then reinvest the money on the scaling part. And this is a brilliant move. This is a really good move, because sometimes we can go in the scaling part too quick, but then we don't have the funds to maintain that part is scaling, right? So it's almost like setting up the foundation first before you can scale. You can't scale what is not there. And a lot of people, when they go in, they say, how can I scale it? It was like, set this up first. Like, go and fill up your pipeline with one-to-one clients, work with those one-to-one clients, refine your work, and then you can move, and you have the funds as well to go in the scale up part. So just wanted to
absolutely. I'll just add very quickly one other thing from my experience that may be useful. Don't sell too many things. Okay. It is really good to have kind of low end offer, something. For me, that's a video course. So it's there. If someone wants to buy it, great. And then I have 2 levels of coaching packages. But there was a time when I was offering 2 levels, if not 3, of one-to-one coaching. And I was also trying to gather enough people in the pipeline for the group coaching. And I was running and selling masterclasses. And I literally killed myself. I mean, I was close to burnout a few times, even this last June, even though I was just doing one set of new masterclasses. But then, it's about really being rational and saying, okay, as you said, my major bread and butter comes from my one-to-one clients. And that's what I'm going to focus on. And then when the revenue is consistent there, I will see then how I'm going to do the next step. And one more thing with pricing that you may find valuable. Once my packages start to sell really easily like this, and people say, for my top end package, which I can share this, it's $2,995 at the moment. When someone sees you for the first time and says that's a really good value because they see what's in there, then that's the time to revisit. Much like I, previously when my cheaper pricing, it was selling quickly because it was undervalued. So again, that is also incremental, at least for me. And I personally don't believe in this, oh yeah, from this now you go and sell something for 10 grand or whatever. Yeah, by all means, in due course, but you have to be ready in many ways in terms of what you provide and also your mindset and what you believe about that particular figure.
This is a great point. This is such a great point. So in fact, I think you already answered the next question from Regini, which was when you were, I'll take it as an answer. When you were in the refining phase, what did you let go of? Which is letting go of as many offers and a lot of things to fill, but actually focusing on what is really that can turn things around quicker. What is this? Because cash is king in business. So what is the one thing that I can do, that I can sell, that if I get one client like this, my entire month is going to change?
Absolutely.
And that's not a $7 offer. Okay.
But even with masterclasses, you know, the first lot that I did in 2020, 2019, I loved doing them. And, you know, people were coming on board and paying and whatever. And when I looked at it, the total I made was like 4.5 grand. And there was so much effort in it. And then I'm thinking, this is all lovely, but is it really worth it? Yes, I have content now. Maybe I can offer it to corporates or whatever. But, you know, I can get this from 1.5 clients, you know, very easily. Yeah. So why suffer? So in my case, it was also sometimes understanding that I need to do what needs to be done rather than what I fancy doing, because, I love these masterclasses. I love doing one-to-many. This is also lovely. But again, if it doesn't bring you the revenue that you need to let it go if you want to grow.
I have one question about the next 5 minutes. So we have one question from Angie. You mentioned that you have niched down your ideal client. What was your process? And please answer this question in 2 minutes, because I want to have a couple more.
Sorry, yes, I keep talking a lot.
No, it's not. No, actually, no, it's not because you talk, just because I have a few others. And I know that a question like this is not because you were talking more. Actually, all the questions were perfectly answered. It's more that this question can be answered in 2 minutes or can be answered in half an hour.
Yeah,
so that's why I asked us to give me the 2 minutes version.
Now, the process again was iterative. This came over a period of time where I looked, you know, there were many different bits of the process. The first one is, who do I really love working with? And this was now early days, but in those early days, say in the first couple of years or the first year, there were a few clients that I just loved working with, right? And they enjoyed working with me. And then I look at who are they? You know, what is the demographics? What is the psychographics? What are their ambitions and desires and dreams? What are their pain points? You know, all the usual stuff that you may want to use to qualify your ideal client. But if you can draw from real experience, even better. And then you start, or at least I started to look gradually also at who can afford my services, because I tend to, and I still do to a certain extent, but I really want to, you know, minimize that. Sometimes I take on people who I just think, oh my God, I really need to help them, and I know they can't afford, and I give them a payment plan of like 10 or 12 months, and then in the end they can't pay, or whatever, you know. So that is also a process of niching down. Really focus on your ideal client, because the more of these ideal clients you have and the more you can serve them and the better they pay you, you can then do a pro bono for someone that can't pay or whatever, rather than accepting everyone and anyone. Well, not literally, but, you know, I was guilty of that. I was a bit lax, but I'm getting more and more stringent. So yeah, who do you really love working with? Describe that person as much as possible. And then also see, are they the ones who can pay your services? And then see where are you going to find them?
Yeah, and it is really important looking at the part, not just who do you like working with, but can they pay the prices that you want to get paid? Because that is the difference. That is the difference between a charity and a business. Now, within GTeX, we are all here because we want to make a difference, because we have a good heart. That's what makes GTeX GTeX. We are good people. We are in this not because we want, like, money for us is more a byproduct of the service that we want to give. And that's what makes us part of this community, right? We believe that. That comes as double-edged sword, because then we can go to in too much helping mode and saving mode, and forgetting that we are running a business, and to run a business, there needs to be an equal exchange. My service for your money, your transformation for your money. And that's where is a balanced service. There is one more question I want to ask, which I think is really fascinating. There is sometimes in the business world, this when we look for models, like we all learn from others. We all learn from also observing what other people in our industry do, and then see how we can make things better or different. But there is a question from Angela. She mentioned, do you look at those who are in your space and actively look to provide something different? Or do you rely on what you know you are most gifted at? It's a good one.
It's really interesting, Angela. Thank you for this question. I would say both, because I do actively look to provide something different, but that's because that's where my gift is. And that USP is the combination of, business experience, the knowledge of the world of recruitment, careers and work, as well as super big investment in personal development, growth, coaching, transformational coaching, and so on. So actually a prospective client I spoke with today, when I told him about this USP, he said, oh, I don't know if there's anyone else doing that. Because as I said, people are either more mindset focused, or they're just like, oh yeah, bang, bang, let's get you into a job. This is your CV, interview prep, blah, blah, blah. But I actually haven't, I'm sure there's some people, but I haven't met them yet that offer that like end-to-end solution that encompass all of that. So yes, I do look to provide something different, but using what my kind of special angle is, if it is. I don't know.
So it's not an either or situation. It is, I'm looking to make something better and different by doing what I'm the most gifted at.
Yes, exactly.
And that becomes the way. So it's almost like looking at the different, what other people are doing. How can I do it something different or better by staying true to myself and leveraging from my gifts and expertise and experience?
Yes.
I love the answer. Now, I know there are quite a few more questions, but we'll not have the time to answer them. So my recommendation, it would be to tag Jelena in the Facebook group. So then she might be able to answer those questions there. Jelena, two more things. One is, actually, the first one is, what projects are you working on now, and what support we can give you as a community?
Oh, wow. Thank you. I didn't expect this. Projects. I am really working almost exclusively on things that are going to contribute to my end goal, which at this moment is getting this consistency of 10, 15 grand, or ideally more per month. That's the project. At the same time, I'm starting to think more about how will I scale, and but I haven't started actively to look into what it is that I need in terms of solutions or software, or that will come. That's also one thing I learned, to be patient in that sense, because there's always a right timing for everything. What can GTeX give me? I don't know, guys, you've given me a lot. I mean, so much, from profile builder, from, getting the audience right, from the LinkedIn pod engagement, from tons of things, speaking opportunities, plus a lovely community. I know I haven't been showing my face recently, but that's because I've been up
for good reasons, but that's why you joined. So that's why you joined. But if someone here, I'll put it out there, if you know people in like either an executive position or managerial position that are looking for a career change or a career transformation, then you know who to contact,
Absolutely.
who does this within GTeX. So make sure you put a touch with Jelena. And last thing is final message. What final message would you give to everyone in the GTeX family as a wrap up of this interview as a GTeX member of the month?
Oh gosh, that sounds really like lots of responsibility. What's the final message?
Final message. And it can be something that you said earlier. That
yes,
is a point that you want to repeat again.
Which is definitely about patience and perseverance. It's also about being compassionate to yourself. In other words, you know, don't beat yourself up if things don't work out the first thing round, and just keep going. And also don't forget to enjoy the process and life in general. That's super important.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Jelena, give her a massive round of applause and massive round of whoop whoops. We have it.
Thank you, Simone. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Jelena. I know you need to leave because you have actually probably like a client call in a moment.
I have a client, but I would just say, I mean, I scanned some of the questions and some of them are really interesting, like meditation and stuff. And yeah, I do lots of things. So message me on Messenger or tag me, and I'll happily answer. I'll write up a short thing or leave a voice note.
Awesome. Thank you, Jelena.
Thank you so much, guys. All the best.
To wrap up, what I want everyone to do here is to please share in the chat what was the biggest lesson you got from this interview. What is the one message between all that has been shared that really resonated with you, where you can take action on? Because that's why we are looking for at different stories and different messages will resonate with you at different points in the journey of your business. Right now, what is the one that resonates the most with you? Please type it in the chat. And then again, thank you, Jelena, and I will see you next time.